So lastly, I want to look at using Metadata Studio for prompt automation. And this is a really killer capability. So for example, we looked at creating flow node descriptions where we could create descriptions for all of the nodes in a single flow. Well, prompt automation will let you run that same prompt on the entire org. And so if one of these prompts lends itself to automation, you'll read that down here in the description, where in this case it says automate this prompt to create a detailed description for every flow in the org. So in order to do this is really pretty simple. You just select the prompt that you're interested in and go to the Prompt Automation tab. And then you select Create Automation to get started. In this case, you'll want to define the automation on the flow content here, and the required metadata is shown in red, and select the assets that you're interested in. You could, of course, select all of the flows in your org. I'm just going to select 2. And it will show you here a list of those flows that you're going to automate on. And now you go to the last tab and you create the automation. All right, there we go. We've run our base prompt on 2 flows. When we click OK, you'll be able to review the results and make sure it's what you wanted. And at that point, you can do a number of different things with these results. In this case, you can create a developer project. You can use Salesforce DX to then deploy these flows into a live org, but there you go as a simple example of prompt automation. So I also wanted to cover all of the things that you can do with a prompt automation. So once you've created the automation, a number of options will appear over here at right, and so single report is good for creating a dictionary or a document from all of the output of the automation. Multiple reports is similar, but it'll put the output into separate files, one for each selected asset. So that might be good if you needed, for example, a report on what every flow does. You could put each report into a separate file. Developer projects are a great place to put metadata assets that you've created. So for example, if you create descriptions for all of your flows, you can put them into a developer project and then you can deploy them or give the project to your release management team. And then using our deployment tools, you can then see the differences between the project that was created and your current org, and then you can deploy those things as normal. Everything I've done with metadata, it turns out you can also do with data, using all the same methods you've already seen. But if you've created data records, either new data records or changes to an existing record, you can create a data set and use our Monarch data migration tooling to move the data into a sandbox or a production org. And lastly, you can take the output of automation and use it to create fine-tuned models. This will be the subject of a future movie, but it's a very powerful way to change the language model itself. So you might be wondering, how do you enable or disable all of these various options based on what your prompt automation does? And I'll show you that as well. So if you're a prompt engineer over here on Prompt Studio and you're looking at the options for the prompt itself, there's a second tab here called Automation Settings. And that's where you can enable or disable all of these options depending on what your prompt actually does and what type of automation and what the output will be. Be sure to put your automation description in over here. That's very important so that your end users understand what the automation does. And there's a couple of special options down here below. You can output reports with the selected content names or just with a simple sequential name, depending on what's appropriate. You can include data and text optionally in the report, depending on what you need. And you have special subfolders over here for classification of reports. So for example, if I have a special word here, whatever it is, it'll create a folder and put any reports that contain that word in that folder. So it's really powerful. For example, you can do low, medium, and high quality, and then ask the language model to classify various assets. All right, that's a quick movie about prompt automation.